What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Oh, you know what? I was telling people Amazon Prime. I forgot you could find it on Showtime. What's up to the people? Let me say hi, everybody coming in. Hey. Hey, Corey, what's up, Lemon Kush? How you going, Amber? I said, how you going? How you doing, Amber? Hey, Mimi126. Hey, Angela. I think I said it right. Hey, lovely Reg. Hey, what's up, girl? I ain't seen you in a minute. Hey, Sheila, Jonathan, how you doing? Teddy, I was gonna say Teddy Rock. Teddy Pendergrass was your father's first cousin. No, I didn't know that. You got some Teddy Pendergrass stories to share with us? Hey, Lady D, what's going on? Hey, Tracy. It's been a long week in your home daycare. Child, I can't imagine. See, I deal with the older kids. I can't deal with the younger kids, girl. Woo! What's up, Tracy Wilson? You ready for this one? One of your favorite singers and documentary. Okay, girl. It was an enjoyable documentary, I will say that. Hey, you so glad you took me up on my offer and checked out the documentary. I can't wait to hear your perspective. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Lauren, for staying on me. You guys know I got a little ADHD in my life and I got a lot going on. So I had written it on my list. It was on my list. Y'all know I keep a list of stuff y'all want me to watch, but I just had not circled back around to it. So thank you for being persistent. Hey, E. Starkey. Can't see my face. Oh, I'm coming on screen. I just got the overlay up there right now. I'm coming. I'm sorry. I was saying hi to the people. You joined me before you start your birthday drinking. Did you get my Cash App? Jay, I sent you enough to buy a drink. I sent you a little. It wasn't much, but I sent you a little happy birthday. You are a member, honey. So I just sent my member a little happy birthday to a little something. Okay, y'all know that it is Jay Walsh's birthday weekend. I think yesterday was his actual birthday. Yes. Uh, Danny, we've got to connect. We've got to connect. Hey boo. Oh, and I got something to tell you too, girl. Hey, how you doing this evening? Hey, Tavoris, how you doing? Not really. You met him once at a friend. You only met him once at a family reunion. Okay. I'm so done peopling today. Well, I understand, child. I definitely understand. Hey, Really B, looking forward to this doc. My mom met Teddy, and she danced with him back in the day at the club. I know that's right. You sure that's not your daddy? You sure he ain't your daddy? Hey, what's up, Sarah said? How are you, my love? Okay, you got it. Good. Okay. Yesterday was your husband's birthday. Are y'all going to do something special this weekend, honey? Yes, Tracy, for the birthday. What's up, Star? How you doing? So listen. So we're here to talk about. No, we just got you to see Bad Vegan and Supreme Team. Did I put the Supreme Team on my list? Hold on, let me find. Remind me to look for my list because I have a whole list of shows. Hey, Cookie, what's up, my love? Got a hole in my lip. Oh, y'all had a party yesterday? I know that's right. Y'all see that my birthday celebration is gonna be on July the 5th. Look, I got my shirt wet. It is scheduled for 9:00 on July the 5th. Y'all know my birthday is July 2nd. But on July the 2nd, I'm going to see LL Cool J, which is a Sunday. And then that Monday, this is a good idea. What's up? It's J Dub. What's up, boom? Hey, Kenneth. Yes. My head Ursha is here, y'all. So the head Ursha is here. If you're new here, raise your hand. He will give you a new member card. If you're looking for a seat, he will make sure to escort you down. Now, it's only 57 people in here right now. So there should be plenty of seats down front. Y'all come on down. We about to get into it in a minute. But yeah, so my birthday party will be on July the 5th because July the 4th, I know I always have plans. I know y'all always have plans. So we will just meet back here on July 5th. Y'all know I celebrate the whole month. So celebrating on the 5th ain't no thing. You always have an unpopular opinion, SJ Dub. I think you do it on purpose. I think you like having the opposite opinion. Okay, I think you love having the opposite opinion. Okay. Wait a minute. What about Mama's 75th birthday? Okay, my mama's 75th on the 5th. Yeah, and you know me and your mama, we here, Danny. You definitely make sure you send my love to your mama. I'm going to inbox you, Really Be. I need some help with finding out what teachers need as far as supplies, doing a project at the church for educators. Well, first of all, Jonathan, you just cussed at me. You just cussed at me, right? I literally just started my summer break. I do not want to think about supplies. But for you, I will. Okay? Inbox me. Honestly, put that finger up if you need a better seat. That's right. I'm gonna say this and then we're gonna get into this documentary. Honestly, to be honest with you, in this day and age, it probably would be easier to ask teachers to do a wish list. But we'll talk. I don't know if you just want to do general donations and then take them to the schools, or if it's a specific school that you're working with. Because if it's a specific school you're working with, it will probably be easier to talk to the teachers at that school. Because a lot of schools are, doing computer stuff and they're not using as much paper and notebooks and pens and pencils. So honestly, their needs may be a little different, but we'll talk. Definitely, you can hit me up. You should, don't you have my number? Jonathan, I think you have. If you don't have my number, make sure you inbox me because you should. Really B, did you see that Busta Rhymes at the BET Awards? I'm super excited. He's my second favorite. Okay. Y'all keep getting me off topic. Okay. Your son is turning 21. Oh, you better get him a 21 drink. Yes. Can't forget your birthday is the same day as your niece. Oh, these cancers. Yes, cancers. J-Dub, please drop your comments in the chat. I definitely want to hear your opinion. If I have time, I'll drop the link. I just don't know if I'm going to have time because y'all want me to do a live review of Bell Collective. Y'all getting a 2-for-1 tonight. So let's get into this documentary. Y'all know I got to get to my notes. Y'all know I'll be taking my notes. So let me start from the beginning. No, those are the Russell Simmons notes. Not those. Those are, okay, Teddy Pendergrass. I love Teddy Pendergrass. I have always loved Teddy Pendergrass. Okay, I remember the car accident. I was young. I was young and I didn't understand. I remember all of the rumors, which we will get to, which I honestly thought for a long time I didn't think they were real, and then I found out they were real. It was a whole thing. I do notice that they kept out. Teddy Pendergrass got into a second car accident. Yeah, I do know that, right? He was in a second car accident in his van that was equipped after he was a paraplegic with a woman. Allegedly, he was receiving some fellatio. I don't know if that's true. You're about to go live at 8, but I'm trying to drop my bombshell of a comment. Well, what you want to say is J-Dub? Because you're going live in 30 minutes. So what you want to say, boo? I want to hear you. I want to hear what you have to say. Because you always have an opposite opinion. And our opinion may not be too different, but I would love to hear what you have to say. Okay. So we start this documentary off. They have a man getting into a blue Rolls Royce, driving off with, a personalized tag that say Teddy. Now, for those who do not know, Teddy Pendergrass was born and raised in Philadelphia, and he stayed in Philadelphia the entirety of his life. Like, he never moved to LA or anything like that when he became a bigger star. He stayed in Philly, ended up buying a mansion in the outskirts of Philly, all that good stuff. He said, now we meet his mom at the beginning of the documentary, and she says that she had multiple miscarriages before Teddy was born. She said that Teddy was her 7th pregnancy, but her first birth. And I believe he was the only child. Like, I didn't see anything that alluded to her having more children. He talked about where they grew up, and he said even once he got rich, he couldn't get his mama to leave the hood. And that happens to a lot of people. You see a lot of celebrities, and they're like, why your parents still living in the hood? Or why your parents, why you ain't buy your parents? A lot of people don't want to leave. Y'all, if I were to get rich tomorrow, and I would say to my parents, and my parents don't live in the hood, let me be clear. But if I were to say to my parents, look, I'm going to buy you a mansion with all of the accoutrements, my parents would be like, I'm good right here. But they might want me to make adjustments because there's a lot of steps in their house and they're getting older. They might be like, no, but can you just put like a washer and dryer upstairs or blah, blah, blah. But they ain't going nowhere. I promise you. A couple of years ago, they thought about moving, and they were like, no, we good. They're not going nowhere. I know the first car accident had Dr. J's wife in the car with them, but people hid it because he was in NBA playoffs or the finals. Oh, Lauren. The hood was great in the 70s and 80s. You know, there was a thing with the hood, you know, because it was a family. You know what I'm saying? It was a family. My mama would be like, when we moving, child, my parents ain't going nowhere. They not. Anyway, but he said he couldn't get his mama out the hood. Now, he grew up in the hood. You know, Philly, like most major cities in the 1960s and the 1970s, they dealt with white flight. I know we dealt with it here in D.C. You definitely saw it in New York. You dealt with white flight, where a lot of the folks moved out of the city. White folk moved out of the city, moved into the suburbs, and then the city was mainly black folk. There was a lot of crime due to systematic racism. We're not gonna go down that road, you know, but we can set it up. We know redlining was an issue. Like, we can go down that road, but we're not gonna. That's another day, another time. I didn't know it was 2 car accidents until Unsung. Oh, so Unsung did talk about the second car accident. I remember hearing about that. I should have pulled it up. I should have Googled it, but I know there was a second car accident. I thought it was Sugar Ray Leonard's wife. See, look, now we see. Don't nobody know. He said that in his neighborhood, he had to walk through 2 gang territories to get to school. And how his mother basically was like, "Gone, you better go on and get to school." Like, he said, in my opinion, because they had actual taped interviews with Teddy Pendergrass. I believe that these taped interviews were probably used. He did write an autobiography, so I don't know if these tapes were used for his autobiography. I know there were plans to do a biopic. Twixt was supposed to play him in the biopic, so I don't know if this was for the biopic. I don't know if this was for his autobiography that he wrote or for this documentary, but there were actual audio tapes of Teddy. So at a lot of the documentary, you hear Teddy talking. Let me see what Dub is saying. I never looked at Teddy Pendergrass the same after this documentary because I really believe Teddy was responsible for unaliving his. J-Dub, I wish you didn't have a live at 8 o'clock because we're going to get there. But I just wanted to go on order of the documentary. You didn't know about it before the documentary? See, I knew about this before the doc. I knew about Taz Lang before the documentary. Now, I only learned about it a couple of years ago. I ain't going to sit here and act like I knew it my whole life. I only knew about it a couple of years ago. But, yes, it's J-Dub. We're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. For those of y'all who don't know what I'm talking about, buckle up, Buttercup. J-Dub. I wish you didn't have your live because I would bring you up. Because, baby, we together on that one. But we'll get there. He said there was one gang. He lived in gang territory called the MMF gang, which was Mighty Motherfuckers. Now, I said, you can't be mad with a gang that called themselves the Mighty Motherfuckers. You just can't be mad at a gang that they tell you what they are. Okay? And I think it's also it's important. President of the Big Back Committee. Okay. So this came on Showtime. So if you have Showtime, you can watch it through. You can stream it through your Showtime app. If you don't have Showtime, it is on Amazon Prime. You can rent it. I rented it for like $4.99. You know you can rent movies on Amazon. So I rented it for $4.99. But if you have Showtime already, this came on Showtime, so you should be able to get it through Showtime for free. You like that name? Right. And I think what's important to understand is there was gang life before Bloods and Crips. I think a lot of people, especially people in my generation who grew up with that whole 80s, 90s Bloods, Crip thing, like they were the only 2 gangs to ever exist. Like they were the first gangs and the only gangs. I mean, I know up in the Chicago area, we had the Gangsta Disciples and in New York, but listen, gangs have existed for a very long time. It is not new. So he dealt with gangs in Philadelphia growing up. Okay. Now he said that he was ordained at the age of 12, And then he started singing in church. Now, we know a lot of people started singing in church. The fact that he was ordained at the age of 12, but it honestly does not. I'm gonna be honest with you. The one thing I feel like this documentary did. Okay, so if I'm gonna be critical. Okay, give me a second. Y'all know my brain is starting to go all over the place. Give me a second. Let me center myself. I liked the documentary overall. But what I feel like the documentary missed, I feel like they missed all of his early life. Like, we got a few tidbits here and there. I wasn't impressed with the Donna Summer, but like the Rick James documentary was really good. It was really good. Thank you. You've been here in the bushes. Well, thank you for coming out the bushes. Thank you so much. Hey Xavier. Hey boo. They didn't give us a lot of. They said they told us he was ordained at the age of 12, and then they sort of skipped over that to Harold Melvin discovering him. But then we saw an interview where he was singing in his early teens, well, late teens, excuse me, and they had actually submitted a demo to a record company, and he never heard back from them, so he stopped singing for a couple of years, and he said, "Oh, I'm just gonna play the drums." And it was like, well, when did you learn how to play the drums? Like, none of that was really discussed. And see, me being the kind of person I am, I want to know all of that. Okay, you were ordained at the age of 12. Okay, well, what happened? What happened after that? Like, what pulled you away from church? Like, why didn't you become a gospel singer? Like, were you really preaching? Like, who ordained a 12-year-old? Like, that's the kind of stuff that hey, Thais! Mwah! That's my boo, y'all. That's my boo thing right there. Oh, Thais. See, this is my ADHD. Thais. And I'm gonna do a video on it probably maybe next week. Thais on his channel does a segment called Revisited. And he revisits true crime that affects Black folk. And he did a Revisited last Saturday on the Freeway Phantom, which was a serial killer here in the DC area in the early 70s. I had never heard of the Freeway Phantom. I love true crime. I grew up here. I mean, in the early 70s, I wasn't here, but I grew up here. Never heard of the Freeway Phantom. Thais, I need you to know, I drove to Atlanta on Sunday. I listened to 2 podcasts on the Freeway Phantom. I was obsessed with it the whole day. Moving on. I'm going to tell y'all all about it. Okay, let's get back to this. But he was ordained. So I wanted to know, when did you start playing the drums? Was that in church? When you cut this demo, who did you cut the demo with? Like, we're talking about the 1960s. What studio did you go to? Who were you singing with? Now, we do see some of the members from the Blue Notes talk about how they used to stand on the street corner and sort of do the doo-wop thing. Which, you guys, if you know Black music, you know that the doo-wop groups were really big. 1950s, 1960s. My dad has all sorts of doo-wop albums. And he talked about how they got kicked out of school because they were cutting school so much they never went. So I'm like, again, you got kicked out of school, so you never graduated from high school. What did your mama say? Like, it was just a lot that I felt like we didn't get. I feel like we just jumped over all of that. You know what I'm saying? But neither here nor there, child. Neither here nor there. He said he used to cut school to go to the Uptown Theater. Now, the Uptown Theater was like the Howard Theater here in DC, the Apollo Theater. Like, every major Black city had one of these theaters where the Black artists could go and play, right? And they became popular because when Black folk came to town, that is where they had to play. They couldn't play at the mainstream. They couldn't play at the mainstream theaters. Stephanie Mills said they asked her to participate. She turned them down. Well, why she turn them down? Y'all know, but Stephanie, it's J-Dub. I heard it. I grew up with the Bunny Man too, and I feel like the Bunny Man might have been the old folks warning us about the Freeway Phantom. Because growing up, it was always you got to be on the lookout. It was the Bunny Man and the Snatcher Man. Did you ever hear about the Snatcher Man? It's J-Dub. And I feel like that was their way. The old folks like, be careful. Be you out there, you be careful. The money man gonna get you. I don't know. We'll talk about it when I talk about it, we'll talk about it. Anyway. But yeah, he got kicked out of school. He said he's to go see Jackie Wilson. And Jackie Wilson really formed his performance style. Like he wanted to be the Jackie Wilson, right? The documentary skipped. It skipped a lot of his early childhood. She said she didn't like the direction of the doc. Okay. When Stephanie said, I'm gonna believe it. You never heard of the Snatcher Man? Okay. But the Bunny Man and Snatcher Man, maybe I'm making up Snatcher Man because my mama said she didn't remember that either. But anyway. So we jump from that to Harold Melvin finding him. But where did he find him? How did he find him? Like, these are the questions that I have when I watch stuff like this. This is what I want to know. I want to know how did we get here, Deborah Cox? How did we get here? Okay? I want to know, how did Harold Melvin find you, and who the hell was Harold Melvin? You see what I'm saying? I mean, I know who he was, but y'all know what I'm saying? Like, how did we get there? But y'all neither here nor there, child. So, Harold Melvin started this band called, originally they were called the Blue Notes, and that was the other thing I got a little lost in. I'm gonna definitely have to go do my own. I'm definitely going to go do my own more research on my own. But we just talking about the documentary for right now. We saw where he was singing with the guys that ended up becoming the Blue Notes when they were in high school. So was Harold Melvin part of that little doo-wop group that was singing on the street corners instead of going to school? Or did they bump into Harold Melvin? You know what I'm saying? Or did they bump into Harold Melvin somewhere along the way? Because I just got questions. But neither here nor there, the child. They said that Harold Melvin discovered him and took him to Gamble and Huff, right? Y'all know the Philadelphia sound, Gamble and Huff. Y'all, I know that they were the everything. So they started performing. They had their first hit, Miss You. And they said that Harold Melvin changed the group from the Blue Notes to Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, and they didn't know nothing about it. They didn't find out about it until they were literally on stage being introduced. Now, two different versions of the story were told in the documentary. The first version, one of the Blue Notes said that Harold Melvin had lied to Gamble and Huff and told them, oh, the guys are cool with the name change. Don't worry about it. The guys are cool with it. But then Gamble and Huff said that Harold Melvin was basically jealous of Teddy Pendergrass, and he wanted people to know that he was the leader of the group, even though Teddy Pendergrass was singing lead on most of the songs and definitely their most popular songs. And so he was jealous, and he wanted everybody to know that he basically was HNIC. And so they told him, we'll change the name. So it was two different stories that were told, even in the damn documentary. But we know that to be true because I'll be honest, for a long time, I knew who Teddy Pendergrass was, and I knew Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. But I always thought that Teddy Pendergrass was Harold Melvin. I didn't know for a long time. Like, I mean, I was still young. I mean, I knew as an adult, but growing up listening to this music all my life, because my parents are music people. I grew up listening to all kinds of music. I grew up listening to Teddy Pendergrass and Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes and all of that. I thought it was the same person. I thought Harold Melvin was Teddy Pendergrass. And so did a lot of people. And that was part of the reason why he was upset. Okay? Now, Harold Melvin was also a crook. But we've talked about this a million times, y'all. The music industry is not for suckers, okay? The music industry ain't for the faint of heart. And so Harold Melvin's name was on everything. Harold Melvin was the lead singer. And he got the checks, and he gave them what he wanted them to have, and he kept the rest. Now, I've heard two versions of this story as well. The version in the documentary said that when they were in LA, they were playing in LA, and the Blue Notes was staying at a motel. Harold Melvin was staying at the Beverly Wilshire at a suite. And Teddy went down there to get some money. He was like, look, I'm broke and I need some money. You living high on the hog. And they said that he went into the back room, lifted up his mattress, and the money was there. Like cash was underneath the mattress, and he gave Teddy Pendergrass $200 and then said, but don't tell the rest of the band. Now, first of all, there are a few things in that story that I'm just not feeling. First of all, what you not gonna do while you living in a suite and you living a good life, and I'm starving down at the motel, what you not gonna do is lift up a mattress with full of cash and only give me $200. I know that's the 1970s, but I don't give a damn. $200 is $200 when I'm looking at thousands. That's what you're not gonna do. So the other version of the story I heard was a little more sinister. The other version of the story that I heard, you think that's the same story they told on Unsung? Well, I heard another version, and I believe my daddy told me this story. Now, where my daddy got it from, I can't promise you. And so take it with a grain of salt. Take it with a grain of salt. But what my daddy told me was that this didn't happen at no hotel. It happened at Harold Melvin's house. And that he had been putting off Teddy, he had been putting him off. Teddy was like, what's going on? And maybe this happened after the hotel situation and he knew they had the money. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. But the story that I heard was that that Teddy rolled up at Harold Melvin's house and he had a weapon, pow pow, and he told him he went to get some money and Harold Melvin was like, I ain't got no money. I don't have no money. And he was like, yes, you do. I know you keep cash in the house. You have some money. And Harold Melvin was like, I ain't got no money. And Teddy pulled out his pow pow and Harold Melvin went to the safe and the safe was full of cash. Now, you know what? It wasn't my daddy. It was Teddy Pendergrass. And I don't know what I saw, but Teddy told that story himself. But I remember him saying it was a safe, not no mattress. But the end of the story is the same. You always heard this. Okay, so I'm not crazy. See, that's why I love doing this live, because y'all let me know that I'm not crazy. You heard about a house too. Okay, so is the story I told similar to the story you're familiar with, C. Golden? That Teddy wrote that he had been, Harold Melvin had been avoiding him. And Teddy rolled up on him and was like, bruh, break me off some money. And Harold Melvin told him no. And he was like, but I know you keep cash in the house. And he basically robbed him. I mean, he basically robbed him. But it was his money. It was his money. But he rolled up in there and he took more than $200. I promise you that. He took way more than $200. Now, that situation in LA may have happened. And maybe that's why he was like, I know you got more money than what you gave me. But either here nor there, that was pretty much the end of that. Okay. I guess, again, we don't get a timeline. So I don't know how much longer he stayed with the group. But what he said was after they recorded Wake Up, he said that he was going to take his own advice. The word wake up, everybody, no more. Y'all know the song. If you don't, go Google it, child. Because I ain't about to sit here and sing. But he said he took his own advice after that. And that's when he decided to do his own thing, take a chance on himself. And they said they called it the breakup song instead of Wake Up, because that's when the Blue Notes, that's when Teddy Pendergrass left the group. The Blue Notes left Harold Melvin, and Harold Melvin started his own group, which really never ended up being very successful. But yes, he threatened him. He absolutely did. He threatened Teddy. Harold Melvin threatened Teddy Pendergrass, saying, you ain't gonna never amount to nothing. You ain't gonna never be successful without me. You ain't ish without me. And they alluded to Harold Melvin, being a little sinister. But again, it's the music industry. It was the 1960s, 1970s. I don't put nothing past nobody, child. So here's where, and it's J-Dub. This is the part J-Dub wanted to talk about. Here's where things got a little interesting. So y'all sang that for your 6th grade graduation. I don't know if we sang it for, I don't remember, but I remember the song. I always loved the song. I I never heard about a safe, but I wasn't there. Now I remember it wasn't the hotel, it was the house, but I heard that Teddy followed him to the room and saw it through the door that he lived. You know what, Tracy? You're right. You are right. You're right. He followed him to the room and he did. You're right. But I thought maybe it was I thought he went into a safe, but no, you're right. You're right. He followed him to the room and he lifted up the mattress, but it wasn't a hotel in LA. That I remember. But you're right, Tracy. I do think I remember that. So when he left Harold Melvin, he got new management. Now, the new management was a woman by the name of Taz Lang. They dated for a while. Teddy moved in with her. She became his manager. Now, let me tell y'all something. I pulled this up because I want y'all to know some things. Because before I get into this, I want y'all to... Teddy realized that he had signed a horrible contract with her. And basically the contract, you got 5 minutes. Okay. Basically the way the contract was written, that she would have a piece of everything he did for the rest of his life. The way the contract was written, it could have been 20 years from now, and she was going to get a piece of anything he did. And once he realized the type of contract he signed, he tried to get her to renegotiate, and she was like, hell no, I ain't renegotiating nothing. Now, in the documentary, they make it seem like Teddy was like, yeah, it was a bad deal. But, like, he wasn't mad about it. Now, I don't think anybody in here would feel differently. So let me say this. I pulled up this article. I'm going to read this article, you guys. I'm going to read you this article. This is coming from The Vivid Faces of the Vanished. I just Googled it. So, but I'm going to read it to you guys. Let me share the screen so you guys can see what I'm talking about. And if you just Google Taz Lang, Teddy Pendergrass, it pops up. It's not, I didn't do a deep dive. But I wanted to be able to read you guys a little more information, because the documentary, I feel like, really glossed over this. So Taz Lang was a beautiful and talented woman who hung out with celebrities and was close friends with several well-known people in the music industry. She was reportedly friends with Dionne Warwick and Nancy Wilson. I read another article that also said that the Jackson 5 would hang out at her house when they were in town. She, one of the people that she was most known for being connected to was the late singer Teddy Pendergrass. Taz was his manager and one-time girlfriend. The manager of Teddy Bear Productions was located at 215 Broad Street. Taz was estranged from her husband, former Philadelphia Eagles fullback Izzy Lang. And on Thursday, April the 14th, 1977, Taz spent most of the day in New York finishing up details for a tour for Teddy. Although the two were no longer dating, she continued to manage the popular singer. She spoke with her mother, Eva Ritter, around 10 p.m. and told her she would be home, the Philadelphia Daily News reported. Around 11:30 p.m., Taz returned home from work with an associate, JoJo Times. Now, JoJo Times he also worked for Teddy. He also was his stage manager, okay? She was in the driveway of her residence at 700 West Allen Lane when an unidentified assailant emerged from the bushes and shot her once in the chest. She was rushed to a Germantown hospital, but was pronounced dead at arrival. All right, so then it goes on to talk about what Teddy Pendergrass said in his book. So what he said in his book was, Taz was tending to business, but got back to Philly in time to say goodbye before I left. We promised to talk the next day, he went on to say. As the rest of the entourage checked into the hotel, a desk clerk said, Mr. Pendergrass, you have an urgent message from Philly. I dialed the number and was informed that Taz had been murdered. I was in shock. He said, apparently the night before, Taz and JoJo Times, an employee of mine, drove my Mercedes to her home. JoJo was getting something out of the trunk, and Taz was getting out her keys to open the front door when someone emerged from the bushes and shot her point blank range. The bullet passed through her arm, pierced her heart, and she died almost instantly. He says, I've never gotten over her murder. Now listen, Rumors immediately spread that her murder was a result of a hit. A robbery was not involved, and JoJo was left uninjured. Authorities allegedly suspected the Black Mafia of Philadelphia as they were resentful of the control Taz had over Teddy's career. Reverend Jesse Jackson preached her eulogy. So that lets you know that this was the 1970s and Jesse Jackson preached at your eulogy. So listen. I'm gonna read y'all another. This is like a true crime type website. I'm gonna read y'all a little bit from here because this is written very like, if you know kind of thing. I'm just gonna read you what it says. It says murder for hire. She refused to renegotiate the contract. This permanent A-list singer thought to met the love of his life. She had previously been married and was wealthy. So all these pop-up ads, golly. Okay. Soon after moving in, our singer signed an agreement which allowed his girlfriend to manage him. It was a very one-sided contract in favor of the girlfriend. God darn it, y'all. These pop-ups on these little bootleg websites. Okay, hold on, y'all. Give me a second. Okay. She hobnobbed. I'm sorry, y'all. Let me go back. She hobnobbed with big celebrities who adored her. Our singer was head over heels in love. Soon after moving in, our singer signed an agreement which allowed his girlfriend to manage him. It was a very one-sided contract in favor of the girlfriend, but the singer was in love and thought it was fine. It was fine until he realized just how much money the girlfriend was making off of him. She refused to renegotiate the contract. She refused to terminate the contract. So our singer arranged to be out of town and had a mafia hitman murder his friend, who was spared but remained silent for the rest of their life about who they saw pull the trigger. Now, y'all, there's no way that was a coincidence. They did not rob her, and it was immediately after they signed the contract. Well, it was immediately after she wouldn't renegotiate the contract. I'm gonna say this. This is my opinion. All my opinion. I think he did it. Couple of reasons why I think he did it. There was no robbery, but it was clearly a hit. There is no hitman that is going to leave a witness. Even if by some strange reason they didn't see JoJo at the car, it was in the paper. Like the newspaper article said he was there. They wouldn't have left no witness. They wouldn't have left no witness. That man didn't die till 2013. I looked it up. He died in 2013. He lived a full life. Okay? He wasn't touched. He wasn't bothered. And he told the police he didn't see nothing. He ain't see nothing. He ain't see who did it. That's what he told the police. He ain't see who did it. I believe that. Now, there was a guy in a documentary that said that he knows that Teddy set it up. Now, I ain't going to go down that road because Sonny was a mess. Okay, Sonny was in that documentary a couple of times. And Sonny was at the scene of the accident. I don't know how Sonny was at the scene of that accident. Sonny was the first one on the scene. He said he was going up the road and Teddy Pendergrass was going down the road. And he said his son saw Teddy's Rolls Royce. He said, Daddy, is a Rolls Royce down there? He said, Rolls Royce? He said, yeah, it's a black man in there. And Sonny said, what color is it? And son said green. And he said, oh, that's Teddy. Now, I don't know how you just happen to know who put a hit out on the girl and you was at the scene of the accident. But we're gonna leave Sonny alone. Sonny said he know what happened, but we're gonna leave Sonny alone, okay? I'm gonna say this. I think that this is my opinion. This is my opinion. ReallyBTV. I think that he was in over his head in that contract. That contract was for perpetuity, like basically forever. And he had to get out that contract. He had already been in a bad deal with Harold Melvin, right? He had already went through what he went through with Harold Melvin. He was trying to get out of the contract. And I think he did go to somebody to help him out. And I think he made a deal with the devil. That's my opinion. I think the people he made a deal with, and it may have been the Black Mafia, but I do believe he made a deal with somebody. And I believe that he wasn't surprised. Right. Sonny is the drunk uncle. Yeah, Sonny is the drunk uncle that know everything and know everybody, child. Hey, Montrez. Now, in the documentary, even his band members, one of his band members said on that particular trip, they were leaving town to do a show. And he said, Teddy rode with them on the bus. And he said, I thought that was strange because Teddy never rode on the bus with us. But I thought it was strange that Teddy rode with us on the bus to this gig. And when we got to the hotel, that's when he got the phone call about Taz. I said, oh, so he was setting up an alibi? That's what it sounded like to me. And I got the impression that his band members felt the same way. Now, of course, they didn't come right out and say it. You know, they didn't come right out and say it. But that's the impression I got. Was that they felt the same way. Because they said, he'll never ride on the bus with us. That was unlike him to ride the bus with us. And we were trying to figure out what was he doing here. He said even Jesse Jackson, when he was doing the eulogy, this is what Teddy Pendergrass said. He said even Jesse Jackson, when he was doing the eulogy, said for the people who are responsible for this, and he said Jesse Jackson looked at him. I said, not Jesse Jackson looked at you. So you got Jesse Jackson looking at you during the eulogy. My daddy used to sing background when he was with Harold Melvin in the Blue Notes, and he said allegedly it was a hit. My daddy said Teddy was bougie, allegedly. But they said everybody in here said he was arrogant. Now everybody thought that they tried to say arrogant but nice, but everybody said the man was arrogant, and I believe it. I mean, listen. It's hard for everybody to tell you the shit and you not fall into the trap of being the shit. You know what I'm saying? That's that spirit of discernment. Jesse got the spirit of discernment. Woo. Okay then. Okay. Woo. You know the streets be knowing and talking. Well, the streets been talking. Listen, let me tell you something. I watched a video maybe about a year or so ago. I was trying to find it so I could put the link here. Another YouTuber, a YouTuber who was from Philadelphia. She sort of did the story on it on her YouTube channel. And basically she was like, listen, everybody in Philadelphia know what happened. And the case was never solved. The case was never solved. I mean, he had an alibi. And let's just be real. They weren't going to put no whole lot of effort into finding her killer. Let's just call a thing a thing. They wasn't going to put no whole lot of effort into finding her killer, you know. Now, somebody said, do I think the accident was a setup? Now, we're going to get to that. So anyway, let's get back to the documentary. I did want to bring that up to y'all. I did want to share that with y'all because I had heard that story and I just wanted to give y'all a little more information because I feel like the documentary kind of did like that. I mean, they let you know that he was a suspect and that it was, whatever. But again, from what I hear, Black Philly, everybody in Black Philadelphia know what happened. And he did it. Anyway, let's get back to this document. Okay. Okay, these are my notes. Okay. Witness said, now this is what Sonny said. Sonny said, Sonny is the drunk uncle I told y'all about. Okay, Sonny said that he overheard the conversation. Sonny said he heard the conversation. Sonny said he overheard the conversation of Teddy trying to hire somebody. And he said he told Taz. He said, Taz, you better be careful. They coming to get you. It's not funny, y'all, but in the documentary, it was funny. He said, I told Taz, they coming to get you. And Taz said, oh, I ain't worried about them. And he was like, oh, all right then. He said 2 days later, she was gone. And that's what Sonny had said. That's what Sonny had said. Sonny said that he warned her. And 2 days later, she was gone. But he said that he heard Teddy. He said that he heard Teddy talking to somebody that he knew was affiliated, right? And said, hey, man. It's not funny. It's not funny because somebody died, y'all. But y'all got to see the documentary where Sonny was like, hey, man, you want me to take care of that girl for you? Like, how random is that? Like, somebody just walked up to Teddy and was like, want me to take care of that? Somebody had to know that it was a problem. Somebody had to know that it was an issue for there to even be a conversation. And Sonny, why were you there? And why did they feel so comfortable to talk about performing a hit in front of you? Like, you had to be in with the end. Who talks about just offing somebody in front of some random person? Sonny got a lot with him. Now, Sonny said he know. He said he ain't telling, but he know. Oh, child. Wasn't that lady connected or she was stealing money or something? Yeah, spiritual gangster. We talked about that. Mm-hmm. She was stealing Teddy's money. That's whose money. But now they also alluded to maybe she was involved in drugs. Maybe because somebody said, well, if you get caught stealing drugs from somebody. So I don't know if they were trying to say that she was involved in more sinister stuff. But this is what I feel like. I feel like let's just peel back this onion for a minute. You just peel back this onion for a second. Right, Cindy, you just told. You might as well tell it because you just told it. Here's a woman that you're dating. Now, Teddy Pendergrass said that was the love of his life. Like that was his boo thing, right? That was the love of his life. Here's this woman who was the love of your life. You were in love. This is the woman. This is her. This is the one. Made you sign a contract that gave her control, a piece of your earnings for the rest of your life. You had to have felt betrayed. And she had to be one cold mama. You know what I'm saying? To feel comfortable enough to even have you sign that type of contract. You feel what I'm saying? Like you had to really be confident and secure in that mess, right? For Philly to be so big, it's so small in a way. My dad and his side of the family were born and raised there, and they know numerous stories about a lot of Philly related. Oh yeah, Philly. But you know what? Most cities, especially coming through the 60s and 70s and before, I would say prior to the 80s, you have that. You have a lot of that because it was almost like it was two different cities. And one thing, because of segregation, everybody lived in the same area. Even if you were rich, the doctor lived next door to the janitor. Because even though the doctor had the money, the doctor couldn't buy a house on that side of town. So the Black community was still very small. They all knew each other. And then even as with integration in the 70s, when people could start branching out and moving into other areas, they still knew people. They still visited the hood. They still came back. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, people be knowing, child. People be knowing. Yes, that's what I was saying. I thought she was connected to something more sinister like Philly Mafia. Yeah. Like I said, the video that I saw alluded to her being connected. But also remember too, her ex-husband played for the NFL. He played football. And back then, NFL players weren't, didn't make the kind of money they make now, but they still were local heroes. They still were very much, especially black ones. They still were so she was connected. She was connected. Teddy had put out in the want ads. Right, you know what I'm saying? He just put in the want ads, child. And Sonny was around when it happened. So the music scene in Philly has always been small from what I heard. Probably too, because again, Philly is not a music town. It's not LA, So yeah, that's probably very true as well too, Feisty, that the music scene was even smaller. So yeah, so child, they know what happened and they know Teddy did it. Allegedly. Because the other part of the story that I heard was that this JoJo guy, he wasn't just some innocent that him and Taz was messing around. So mind you, JoJo was working for Teddy. Teddy and Taz had broken up, and he had signed this crazy contract. But that's one of the rumors I heard too, was that JoJo and Taz was messing around. They wasn't just hanging out that day. They was together. They were a couple. Anyway, child, it was messy. It was messy. Okay. They said that Taz also made some threats. I wrote that in my notes as well. Okay. So anyway, all that happened. The Ruth's been known about Jasmine Sullivan since she was a little girl, despite the age difference. Child, the strange husband was probably somewhere on the other side of town saying, I ain't got nothing to do with none of this. I wasn't there. I don't know. But I haven't read anything that speaks on him. Honestly, I haven't in anything that I've heard before, or I haven't heard anything about that speaks on him. So I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know the answer. Okay. So the new manager, a white man by the name of Shep, I ain't write his last name down, child. He used to manage Alice Cooper. Now, he told a very interesting story. I feel like we went from one extreme to the other, child. He told a very interesting story. The husband fell on hard times. Oh, okay. Thank you. He said that when he went to basically court Teddy Pendergrass, he told Teddy Pendergrass, he said all of these, because basically once everybody found out that he needed representation, everybody and their cousin was trying to be his new manager. And so he said, well, I told Teddy Pendergrass, well, if you, he said at the end of the night, he said, when you get paid, you're going to get paid in cash. And at the end of the night, you're going to need somebody that's going to hold on to that cash. And I promise you, no matter how much drinking you do, no matter how many drugs you take, no matter how many women you with, I can outlast you. He said, I told Teddy to show up and give me the best you got. He said, and at the end of 3 days, Teddy passed out and I was still standing and I got the job. It was weird. And I really wasn't impressed with the story. I was like, because that was the first we had heard about Teddy Pendergrass with drugs. Now, throughout the documentary, they sort of allude to him using drugs and stuff later on. I mean, it was the 70s, child. I ain't judging him for it. But they do allude to him, using drugs and stuff. But I just thought that was really weird. I have mixed feelings about this Shep guy. To his credit, he stuck with Teddy even after the accident, even after everybody turned away from him, even after his record company dropped him. To his credit, he stuck with him. But it just, because then the next thing he said was, after he got the gig, he said he saw the show and he hated it. He, made him fire his dancers and do all of these things. That I didn't have a problem with. But then he said the next gig he performed, at the end of the show, the promoter didn't pay them. And he went to the promoter and he was like, what's up? Where's my money? And he was like, oh, tell Teddy I don't have the money for him now, but, I got him. And the dude, Shep, was like, what you mean you got him? Like, no, like, you gonna pay us. Like, one way or the other, we walking out here with some money. And he said that by the end of their conversation, the man gave up his ring and was like, tell Teddy hold on to the ring till I get him his money. And he was like, I didn't understand. You know what, Marnie? That could have been it too. He said, I didn't understand this thing called the Chitlin circuit. Now, y'all, I'm not going to lie to y'all. That made me feel some kind of way. I'm going to tell you why. And maybe this is just me living in my black history ignorance, okay? The Chitlin circuit didn't start in the 1970s. Like, the Chitlin circuit was very much a thing throughout American history entertainment. Right? Am I tripping? So for this manager to not understand that Black artists had to play certain venues and there was shady dealings with the promotion, they get paid, maybe they won't get paid, because that's why people like Aretha Franklin and James Brown only dealt in cash and they got paid before they went on stage. Because they already knew how it went down. They knew the promoters was janky. They knew it was always some shit. James Brown wouldn't get on stage without his money. Aretha Franklin wouldn't get on stage without her money. For many years. Like, I'm sure, right. Thank you, Too Feisty. I was like, how is this the 1970s and you acting like you ain't know nothing about the Chitlin circuit? First of all, by the 1970s, the Chitlin circuit was sort of dying off. And then that's the other thing that made me feel some kind of way. He made it seem like because of him, the Chitlin circuit ended. He was like, as I told Teddy after that, we weren't doing any more of these Chitlin circuit shows. And he doesn't get credit for that because, the Chitlin circuit died off and Teddy Pendergrass had a lot to do with that. And, he opened up the doors for a lot of performers now who don't have to deal with that. Y'all, it made me feel some kind of way. I ain't even going to tell you it made me feel some kind of way. It made me feel some kind of way. Because I was like, first of all, sir, Teddy Pendergrass is not the Rosa Parks of the Chitlin circuit. Like, I'm sorry. No disrespect to Teddy Pendergrass. But let's just be clear and call the thing a thing. By the mid-1970s, the Chitlin circuit was dying off. Because Black artists could play more mainstream. What's up, Patches? Black artists could play more mainstream places and more mainstream things. Like, this isn't a new thing. Like, it's not because of Teddy Pendergrass and his white manager that the Chitlin circuit ended. Like, it was the mid-1970s. What? I'm sorry. Barry Gordy had his artists playing at the Copa and Carnegie Hall. Like, let's not act like you broke a barrier. Now, you might have stopped your artists from doing it, and maybe that influenced some other maybe Philadelphia artists or something like that. But, sir, you didn't end the Chitlin circuit. Not the Chitlin circuit that we knew of during that time. Right. The Chitlin circuit has morphed into club appearances and stuff like that. It looks different, but you didn't end what we knew to be the Chitlin circuit back then. But anyway, exactly, Rants and Rambles. That white savior complex runs deep. So I ain't gonna hold y'all. That hit me a little left a little bit. I was just like, okay, bro. Okay. So anyway, so they had him playing the Roxy, which of course was a mainly white venue out in LA. And they realized that all of these, his audience was mainly women who lost their mind the minute he walked on stage. So they created this great promotion where it was for women's only concerts, right? I mean, of course, men could come, but it was mainly geared towards women. And they would give out these promotional like teddy bears. They would give out these chocolate lollipops. So of course, the women are sitting in the audience sucking on lollipops all night. And when you bought a ticket, you would get a phone call from a pre-recorded. I mean, they gave you a number to call, and you can hear Teddy Pendergrass inviting you to come to the show. You know what I mean? It was a genius marketing idea. And of course, the women ate it up and the women loved it. And Teddy Pendergrass was like the black sex symbol of the 1970s. Like, he just was the man, right? His next album that came out, I think like the first 5 songs were called, the first song was, what was it? Come On and Go With Me, Turn Out the Lights. Oh, what was the next song? I should have wrote it down. And then like the last song was like Do Me. But if you listen to the album in order, it basically was, you met at the club, you went home with the man, you turn off the lights, and then the last song was Do Me. So it was definitely a concept album. Before I think people really got into concept albums, it was a concept album. I ain't gonna hold you. I still had the one he did in 1979 on DVD. Girl, I ain't mad at you. I ain't mad at you at all for having it, child. I ain't mad at you for having it. Oh, wow. Okay, sorry, y'all. Close the door. That was it. Thank you, Marnie. Close the door. So it was like, Come On and Go With Me, close the door, turn off the lights, and then Do Me. Yeah, I think that's it. So we found out about his father. We know his father walked out on his mom. I think I told y'all that. I might not have, I might have forgot. But it kind of goes back to his father, where he never really had a relationship with his father. His father left his mom. He met his father one time, and then the next time he saw his father, he had been murdered. He was murdered by another man. They was fighting over a woman child. Then they talked about the fact that he had 1 boy and 2 girls. They were all born in the same year. So that just go ahead and let you know. 1 boy, 2 girls are born in the same year. We all know how anatomy works. We know it takes 9 months, so we know what was that. They said that he had an ego, honey. He had an ego. He had 5 platinum records in a row in the 1970s. And you know, back then, that's selling 1 million records. Baby, that was a lot. That was a lot. He was the king of Philadelphia, but they said that the police would always give him a hard time. The police gave him a hard time. They said they harassed him a lot. There was one incident in particular where he ran a yellow light. They basically followed him home, and they ended up arresting him. He was suing the police department for like $1 million. He had like $1 million police lawsuit against the police department at the time of his accident. We'll get to that in a second. But he did end up suing the Philadelphia Police Department for harassment. And they said that, he did drive fast and stuff, but basically they knew who he was, and, they came after him. They talked about when he was 14 years old, he did get put in a youth study center, which was basically reform school. I think his mother said he was there for like 5 months. What happened was, allegedly, he was walking down the street, and some guys was robbing another guy across the street. He said he crossed the street, but then when the police started showing up, everybody ran. He ran. The police caught him. He told the police what happened, but the judge told him, well, if you didn't do nothing wrong, you shouldn't have ran, and put him in reform school anyway. He said that some traumatic things happened to him there, but he didn't go deep into it. They talked about, him getting a lot of endorsements and stuff. He had a campaign with Schlitz Malt Liquor Bull. For those of y'all remember, every black person, I think, had a Schlitz Malt Liquor Bull commercial in the late 70s, early 80s. He had his own jeans. Now, for those of y'all who remember the early 80s with the designer jeans with the Gloria Vanderbilts and Jordache and Vidal Sassoon, I remember Teddy. I didn't have a pair, But I remember Teddy Pendergrass in his teddy bear jeans, or his Pendergrass jeans or whatever. But they talked about all of these. They said that they were ready for him to cross over, right? They were ready. He was just right there on the cusp. Excuse me. He was on the cusp of getting ready to cross over. In March of 1982, he was hanging out one night. Now, let's be clear. Teddy Pendergrass was a hoe, okay? Because they interviewed about 3-4 women that claimed that they were his girlfriend all during the same time period. So, he was a hoe. Slishmo, Liquor Boy, Code 95, yep. Code 45, yep. I remember Billy D. Williams did Code 45, didn't he? So, one night at the club, he was at the club with his girlfriend at the time. Now, mind you, he had a whole nother child. He had women everywhere. But he was at the club with one girl. And she said she was his girlfriend. I don't know about that. And there was another woman there who he started flirting with a little bit. And he offered to take her home. Right? Now, he told his friend, his guy friend who was there at the club with him, he told his guy friend, look, I'm going to take so-and-so home. The woman that was claiming to be his girlfriend, I'm going to take her home and drop her off. And then I'm going to take this one home with me. So that's what the plan was that night, right? I'm going to do this, do that. So he dropped off the girlfriend, right? And then he had the other girl in the car with him, and he was taking her back to his house. That was his plan. That is when he had the car accident. That was in March of 1982. The year is important. I'm going to get back to that in a second. March of 1982. Now, Sonny was there. I told y'all Sonny was on the scene. Sonny was there the night of the accident. I don't know how, but Sonny said he was going one way and Teddy was going the other way. And they saw the car on the side of the road. And he stayed with Sonny. I mean, he stayed with Teddy. The car hit some trees. Teddy Pendergrass was he was ejected into the back seat. Now, the woman who was in the car with them said that he was driving fast, but when he went to put his foot on the brakes did not work. And that's what she had said. When the police arrived, they said that Teddy was like, don't leave me, don't leave me, don't leave me. They're gonna do something to me. Because at the time, he still had his lawsuit against the Philadelphia Police Department. So he was afraid that if he was left alone with the police, that something was going to happen to him. They don't really allude that there was any foul play. I mean, Sonny said that he felt like the police, the ambulance stayed a little too long, that they could have left faster than they left. But I don't think that would have, the man broke his neck. That's what happened to him. He broke his neck. So it wouldn't have changed nothing. Him laying on the gurney in the back of the ambulance for an extra 5 minutes was not going to change his condition. Like, it wasn't. So they got them jeans and the collectible item. They're $200. It's got the teddy bear and his signature on the back pocket. Yeah, I remember. I didn't have a pair, but I remember them. I remember the commercial when they showed it in the documentary. I remembered the commercial. Child, was Sonny secure? No, Sonny said he was going in the opposite direction. They just happened to pass it. So he gets to the hospital. The woman that was in the car with him, she was okay. She walked away from the accident. She rode with him in the ambulance because he was like, don't leave me, don't leave me, don't leave me. And they found out fairly soon that he was going to be a paraplegic. He was going to be paralyzed for the rest of his life. His manager said that he said that Teddy Pendergrass made a lot of money, but he spent a lot of money. So he didn't have a lot of money in savings when all of this went down. And so he was sort of trying to secure some money for him. And he said that Schlitz malt liquor had agreed to start an endowment for him, at least to be able to put some money aside for his kids. But then an article came out saying that the woman that was in the car with him at the time of his accident was a trans woman. Now the woman was beautiful, okay? She was absolutely gorgeous. To me, she wasn't clockable. Like, I don't think there was any man in the world that would have seen that woman in the club and thought that was a man. Not one. Now, what we found out is she said she started taking hormones in like 1974, and she actually had her reassignment surgery in 1977. So by the time she was in the car with Teddy Pendergrass in 1982, for all intents and purposes, she was a woman. She had a vagina. She had completed her transition process. And again, even in this documentary, when you saw her, you ain't know until they told you that she was not a natural born woman. But it doesn't matter. Y'all know how that goes. She was definitely not. I wish I could. I should have Googled her name so I could show y'all a picture of her. Because, baby, she was beautiful. Okay? Let me see. Hold on. Let me see. Let me see if I can Google real quick. Tanika Watson is her name. Let me show y'all a picture of her. These are pictures. I'm going to show y'all. Hold on. Let me share my screen. Right. Folks just be making stuff up. I also heard she was giving him head. Now, I can't say that wasn't what was happening, but all right, here it is. Let me let y'all see these pictures. This is the woman. This is her now. That's the picture of the car. This is her now. This is her back then. This black and white picture is what she looked like back then. And she actually wrote a book called My Life is No Accident. She actually wrote a book telling her story. But if you look at this picture of this woman, now this is this woman now. Even now, this is what she looks like now. Well, when I say now, I'm not saying like today, but I mean years later. So this is what she would have looked like the night she met, or something similar, the night that she met Teddy Pendergrass. Oh, Lord, I lied to Oprah. What'd she tell Oprah? Lord, she lied to Oprah. But when you look at this picture again, this woman is not clockable. Like, if you saw her in the club, you wouldn't be like, oh, that's a man. And anybody who say they would is lying. If y'all just saw a picture of her, you wouldn't know. All right, let me stop sharing my screen. So, but once that came out, it just didn't matter. It marred his reputation, and pretty much everybody ran from him at that point. I mean, the record label dropped him. I mean, all of this stuff probably would have happened anyway because they didn't know if he could sing again. The man was a paraplegic. I mean, y'all know what it's about. If you can't make money for us, then it's a done deal. Like, if you can't make money for us, then, we done with it. But that pretty much, once that hit the paper, it was a done deal after that. A lot of people, they said, abandoned him like that. She has eyes like Condoleezza Rice. Yeah, she does look familiar. She does look similar to Condoleezza Rice. But the documentary, and that was his 32nd birthday. Like, that was like a couple of weeks before his 32nd birthday. So again, I think we forget where the mods. Why we got a troll? Is there a troll or something in here? If it's a troll, I can't see it, y'all. Hold on, let me look. We almost done. Let me look, because I don't see anything on my side. If there's a troll in here, I don't see it. Give me a second. What's wrong with Rants and Rambles? Rants and Rambles been in here the whole time. What'd he do? I don't see anything. Okay, I don't see it. I don't see it. I'm scrolling back. I don't see what he said that was offensive. I saw what he said. Not that they took Teddy's cakes. You know that white savior complex. I don't see anything. All right, we almost done, y'all. I'm sorry, I didn't see it. If it was offensive to UC Golden, I apologize, but I didn't see it. All right. Oh, I did have her name right here. I have written her name down. Oh well. Anyway. So he was suicidal. He was suicidal after he wanted to unalive himself. I think most people would probably have those thoughts at the very least. And he started going to a therapist, and he told the therapist that that's what he wanted to do. And because he could not physically do it himself, he would have needed assist. He would have needed an assisted situation. And so the doctor said, listen, at the very least, you need to talk to your family. You need to talk to your mom. You need to tell them, because you're going to need somebody to assist you to do it. So you need to tell them how you feel. And when he told them, he had made up his mind that that's what he wanted to do. And he did tell them, and then the doctor said, I tell you what, he said, you need to have a fake funeral. I want you to have a fake funeral. I want you to listen to what people have to say about you. Listen to how your family feels about you. I want you to hear what they would say when you're gone. And he listened. They blindfolded him so he couldn't see anything, but he could only listen to what people were saying. And when it was over, he said, "Nah, I'm good. I'm not going nowhere. I'm not going anywhere." So something that his friends and family said at that fake funeral, made him want to live. And from that point forward, he worked. I mean, there was nothing he could really do. I mean, there was no surgery at that point invented that could help him. But he wanted to learn how to sing again. And so he worked with a therapist that helped him learn how to use the muscles that he had in order to get his singing voice back. And he recorded his comeback album called In My Time. And I remember going to the record store. My dad, I told you, I grew up on music. My dad loves music. I mean, my dad has crates and crates and crates of albums at the house now that I really do need to go through. And I need to see what's good. I really need to go through my dad's music collection. But I remember we used to go to the record store. The new releases used to come out on Tuesdays. And I remember on Tuesdays, probably once a month, we would go to Circuit City, and my dad would get his albums. And I remember when he bought In My Time. I remember when he bought that album. I remember the video. And that was really his comeback. That was his comeback album. I didn't realize that he came out with 6 more albums before he died. I did not realize that. But he actually released 6 more. I think 6 or 7. Hold on, I wrote it down. 6 more. He recorded 6 more albums before he died. And his first live performance was at Live Aid in Philadelphia. If you guys remember, again, they used to have Live Aid where they would have these locations in different parts of the country, and it was to raise money for the famine in Africa and the farmers in America. I think Live Aid was to raise money for the farmers here in America, but they would have the different like the remote locations, and like the biggest superstars of the day would perform. And so he performed. Joy used to be my jam. And remember, he was dancing in that wheelchair. That woman was dancing with him, and he was in the wheelchair dancing with her. I remember the video. But mine is my latest, my greatest inspiration. Oh, I love that one. Oh, I love that song. Anyway, but he that was his first live performance, and it was in Philadelphia, and he performed with Ashford and Simpson. Golly. So overall, y'all, the documentary was great. Like, I'm not going to take away from the documentary. I think they were honest about a lot of things. I think a lot of things were not included. Like I said, there was a second car accident. But that's the other thing they said. They said, somebody in the documentary said that they do think that it was a hit. They think somebody did cut his brakes, because they said that had happened on 3 other cars. They said it happened on 3 other cars of his where the brake line had been cut. So they said they do believe that his brakes went out, and they do think, these are his friends, they do think that it was intentionally done, because it had happened in 3 of his other cars. Like, first of all, brake lines that are cut are cut. Yeah, Sonny ain't see that, child. Sonny didn't see the other accidents. But if it's cut, it's cut. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no wear and tear. Like, it's cut. But that takes us back to the Taz Lang situation. Did he make a deal with the devil and he didn't keep up his end of the bargain? Did he go to the Black Mafia or somebody else and ask for help and he didn't do what he was supposed to? Because let's be clear, all of this happened within a 10-year window. Like, Taz Lang, hold on. Taz Lang died in 19, hold on. Taz Lang died in 1977. She was killed in 1977. His accident was in 1982. So we're talking about a 5-year window. We're talking about a 5-year window, right? Let's just walk down that road for a second. If he did make a deal with the devil and say, look, I need to get out of this contract. This woman got me by the balls. She ain't renegotiating and blah, 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 blah. And they were like, okay, cool. But this what you got to do for us. And he was trying to razzle and dazzle with them. I'm just saying, y'all. I mean, what y'all think? What y'all think? Everybody wanted a piece of him. You're my latest, my greatest inspiration. Ooh, I love that song. Ooh. You're my latest. My latest. Anyway, y'all know I can't sing. Anyway, but honestly, y'all, as I was listening to this, I said, so wait a minute, he had 3 other cars where the brake line was cut. And I'm sure they didn't investigate that. I'm sure they just said he was driving too fast. Now, they did say that he had been drinking at the club, but he wasn't drunk. They said he wasn't drunk. They said he did drink, but he wasn't drunk. They said he was driving fast, but that wasn't the cause of the accident. They said that the woman who was in the car with him said the brakes didn't work. When he went to go put his foot on the brakes didn't work. Teddy was a fine man. Okay, Fruit Punch. Child. What'd you say? You can't outrun Karma. She got a passport. I know that's right. All right, y'all. So that is a Teddy. I don't know why I want to keep saying Teddy Riley. That is a Teddy Pendergrass documentary that I watched. It is called If You Don't Know Me. And it came on Showtime. So if you have Showtime, you can stream it for free. If not, you can get it on Amazon Prime. I rented it for like $4.99. You know, if you get something on Amazon, if you rent it on Amazon Prime, you have it for 48 hours. So I rented it $4.99. Okay. All right, y'all, let me get out of here now. Y'all still want this Bell Collective review, I guess. So it's gonna be late. because I didn't know I was gonna be on here this long. It's gonna be late, so I'm gonna push the time back, but I'm gonna go ahead and watch it now. It's 8:44. I'll probably be done watching it in about 40 minutes. So I'm gonna push the time back, but we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. All right, y'all. Mwah. Peace. I'll talk to y'all later. Meet me back here by the hour. All right.